You're probably wondering why two rangers in National Park Service are sitting in the middle of the woods with books. We have to remember, we're readers of history. We're looking for new ideas, new concepts, new ways of understanding. And sometimes sitting out here with Mother Nature is the best way to come to those revelations. Now, I'm with my good friend and ranger colleague, Dan Maharg, and Dan has been doing some research here on the communities in the Blackstone Valley and how they treated or listed the natives, the Native Americans here. And Dan, what have you come up with?
Well, I got out of our park library 3 county histories, or 3 local histories. This is the history of Worcester County, written in 1879. This is history of Grafton, also written in the 19th century. And this is a 20th century history of Upton. And so I just looked in there for you, Chuck. I looked up Nipmuc people and wanted to see what they said. So this is Frederick Pierce's book from 1879, A History of Grafton. And in here he says that the Nipmuc people over the last 2 centuries have vanished. So, totally disappeared, according to Frederick Pierce. But I was looking at a census that was done in 1992 that said that living in Worcester County now, there are 1,400 Nipmuc people. So I was a little surprised. Why does it say they vanished here, and yet nowadays we have 1,400?
That's even more amazing when you consider the town of Grafton has the Nipmuc Reservation there, the Haslamamisco.
Right.
And that is a centerpiece of Nipmuc culture. And has been for decades, centuries.
Right.
So why would they say that those people no longer existed?
Well, that's a tough question because, like you said, Frederick Pierce obviously knew his neighbors and he knew the people living at the reservation there. And why he decided to not call them Nipmuc people is really interesting. I think it has something to do with Frederick Pierce and other people's attitude at that time, in the 19th century, their attitude about what an Indian was. And for them, what an Indian was somebody who lived out in the forest, who lived maybe in a little teepee or a wetu someplace, who mainly lived by hunting or making baskets. And as he looked around at his neighbors at Haslamamisco, he saw them as barbers, stone workers, factory workers, shoemakers, and he said, well, these people aren't living the way I think Indians live, so therefore I'm not going to call them Indians. I'm just going to assume that they've vanished. And I think that's why in these local histories you don't find descriptions of native people as they're living, as shoemakers. They're not being described as native and factory workers.
Because that would go against our romanticized view of the Indian.
Right, they're not living in the forest, so therefore they're not Indian according to these folks.
It must be very difficult for people to overcome that kind of stereotype. The only way you can be an Indian or Indianness would be out in the woods, where how are you going to make a living and fit into society?
Right, so for Nipmuc people, this must have been particularly a difficult time to live, because here you have a bunch of people in the dominant culture, the white culture, let's say, saying, you've all vanished, you're no longer Nipmuc people, and you have Nipmuc people saying, well, I consider myself a Nipmuc person. I have a family heritage, I have a set of beliefs, and I have a community that I live with that for me is distinctly Nipmuc. At the same time you have the white culture saying, no, you're shoemakers now, and more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person. And that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
There was kind of an ethnic cleansing with a pen going on. And it was, if you did not have white skin, you were considered black. And a lot of times, I mean, even today, you go into the town halls and you see where people have actually written over the records, where it was put in that they were Indian, and someone went in and wrote black over it. And you can actually see in censuses from time to time where they may have been Indian in the first 3 censuses, and then the last 6 of their life, they're considered black. But you also notice something else on those censuses, that they were together here, and they're still together here. It hasn't mattered what people have decided to do, you know, how they wanted to do what they wanted to do. We've stuck together.